You wake up, head downstairs, and get ready for school or a day of work. As you drive through your little town, the same things keep flying by. The same buildings, houses, and gray roads. Concrete and chrome. That's all you see. And so seeing this, you ask yourself, why is everything so dull? Our story begins not today, but centuries in the past, when there was a very clear elite status in society. Those born to famous families and wealth held pride and privilege regarding their family reputation. In fact, their impressive wealth and status meant that they can afford to become patrons of great projects that reflected their status. And so they built beautiful and grandiose things that we might see as unnecessary compared to their function, but that isn't really a flaw, it's the whole point. Because their wealth was what separated them from the masses, flaunting it while quote-unquote giving back to society was fashionable. Basically, having wealth was admired and was the axis on which elite success was measured. And religion is, of course, a major factor as well. The world of our past was so much more religious than we are now, and more devout. And the numbers show us pretty well. America has lost so much of its religiosity over even the last few decades. I mean, secularization has taken root, and only 43.2% of Americans hold God as very important, down from 50.3% in 1980. But the amount of those holding God as not important has quadrupled, from 3% to 12.8% by 2020. So, and also interesting is that women were nearly 20% more devout in both years measured. And this is all thanks to the World Values Survey. And sure, there's still, of course, a large portion of devoted people now, but ask yourself this: would we ever have built the Notre Dame today? Or the Sagrada Familia in today's world? And this brings us to the modern day, where standards of living have improved dramatically following the Industrial and Digital Revolution, but there's still an elite class, and we like to call them the 0.1%, or the 1% colloquially, but we know what that means. But just because they have more money than 99.9% of society, do they really think differently from the rest of us? Well, due to the idea of class consciousness being developed early in the 19th and 20th centuries, it is much less socially acceptable to, show off your wealth. Sure, some people will still do it, but the vast majority of people look at that thing with disgust. Things have changed. And because the standard of living from the upper to middle class has become more and more leveled, the ways elites want to express their elitism isn't going away. It's not going to be the shiniest new thing, it's going to be through attitudes and ideas, which is most obvious when looking at who supports things like social justice and socialism. It's the wealthiest among us. Even things like Broadway. Like, when it was expensive, the idea of going to Broadway signaled to people about someone's high class and intelligence, but now that plays are available to everyone, it's hardly hyped. And rather than spending money on lavish public and private works, it's more socially advantageous to have spent money on charity to, let's say, like poor kids in Africa. Essentially, the ways elites express their status has changed, leading to less development. But this can't be the only reason. I mean, a lot of people have talked about this before, and it really seems like a worldwide noticing. So could there be a biological reason? According to a study by Lewin et al. Titled Pupil Responses to Colorfulness are selectively reduced in healthy older adults, there could be a real biological component to why we feel like everything is more dull and more sterile. It tells us that one of the aspects of color perception that has been found to decline with older age is the perception of colorfulness. So, could our obsession with losing color be due to our memories? I mean, many people are nostalgic over their childhood for obvious reasons. I mean, I know I am. But could we be relating our positive memories with its respective sensory feelings? Or did the colors contribute to the positive memories? We may not know, but there could be another explanation. And this may seem like a weird pivot, but we can draw interesting parallels with modern day architecture and Soviet brutalism. And so brutalism is an architectural style characterized by its massive, raw, and sculptural concrete structures that showcase construction materials and methods. So it's a style most famously associated with the Soviet Union, the USSR, but actually has origins in the United Kingdom. Weird. To learn more about what's not said about brutalism in the West, let's look at what some people have been saying about the Soviet version. Anastasia Galimova writes, One example of this is the Stalinist architecture, which was characterized by grandiose, imposing buildings with a heavy emphasis on symmetry and monumentality. This style was intended to convey the power and authority of the Soviet state and to instill a sense of awe and respect in the population. I mean, look at these images I'll put on screen here. It's pretty bad, right? And I mean, it must be so much better now, today, here in Modernity. Yeah, no. All of these were made like 300 years ago, minimum. And you might think these are all from, America and big cities like New York. But no, that's Sydney, New York, Prague, Jakarta, and Nairobi, respectively. So if the USSR was trying to push onto its people power and authority, what's our current globalized system trying to push onto us? It doesn't even have to be a conspiracy, it's just a question. What is the effect of this sort of architecture on us? And if you've made it this far, you're probably enjoying the video. I put a lot of time into these videos, and according to YouTube, only 31.2% of my viewers are actually subscribed. So please hit like and subscribe to make sure you don't miss my next upload. Look at this. It's disgusting. It's just lines and crosses. Nothing impressive. Just far distances that we must drive in to get around. Car-driven suburban landscapes are sort of gross and limit human activity. Less walking, less interaction, less calories burned, and less nature seen. Just more gray, more black, and more white. Nothing worth looking at. Suburbia, despite its economic and housing benefits, doesn't allow for peak human activity. There's a lot of reasons why, especially if you don't live in a town with affordable housing districts. We don't want to build beautiful buildings anymore. Companies who win bids from the city want profit margins to be fulfilled, and who can blame them? They're simply doing what's best for them because we don't have a system in which we build beautiful things, but that's really a fault of the times and not anyone in particular. But here's the final question I want to leave everyone with. Are homes simply purchasable commodities or something more? And do we want to live somewhere beautiful or efficient? So in this video, we went over a few possible reasons for why the world is growing more sterile. So which do you find the most convincing? Do you have any other ideas? Let me know down below. And thank you for watching until the end. And if you want more like this, check out my other video about the birth rate collapse of the 21st century in the link on your screen now.